I'm going to record. No attendees.
Starting the meeting of the Larkspur Library Board on November 3rd at 6:07 p.m. We start with item 1, roll call.
Jonathan Shambroom here.
Ralph Futterman, chair, here.
Jeff Gunderson here.
Susan Fast here.
Thank you.
And absent
Angie absent.
with notification.
Approval of consent calendar. We will approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
There's a
Second.
second.
I don't think I can because I wasn't here.
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes approved.
Hmm.
Item number 3, public comments. We have any member of the public who would like to comment on no one being there? We're going to move on to item 4, board members' reports and comments. Anyone with anything different of interest to the library? Any meeting?
None.
Nope. So we're going to move on to item 5, director's oral report.
Okay, that's quick. Couple things here. Starting last Tuesday, we hired a new children's librarian, Emma Pierce. So she comes to us from the San Diego area, and she was a school librarian and also had worked circulation at the Carlsbad Library. Recent library school graduate, and so just kind of getting used to the library, so getting trained. We're excited to have her aboard.
Where'd you go, library school?
San Jose State Online. And so
When did she start?
last Tuesday.
Great.
Great.
So she's doing story time with Diana from the Friends is doing story time. And so this Friday, they're gonna do a co-one together, and then the following Friday, she's gonna take over. Because our story times are primarily the 0 to 18-month-old, so it's a really young group. So that's exciting. The second thing I wanted to mention is we were posting this online. MarinNet and our ebook vendor, Libby, we're reducing the checkouts from 25 to 15. And that'll start November 1st.
What does that mean?
And so what that means is right now you can check out up to 25 items a month. And what we're having now is discussions over the ebooks. If you look at the ebook holds, they're pretty large.
Okay.
And they're out of whack. So we've had a committee get together, and this is kind of one of the recommendations to try to help people go through the hold list faster, is reduce 25 to 15. Because when we looked at the data, the power users are the ones that are using 25. Not everyone's going up there. We raised it to 25 during COVID when the libraries were not as accessible. And then we're also trying to work on a new funding formula to provide more ebooks. Currently, we only provide like $1,500 a year. The other libraries provide substantially more. So that'll probably be something that kind of comes up. But our circulation is about last year was 66,000 ebooks compared to 99,000 hardcover books. So the demand from our community, that 66,000 lives in Larkspur. So there is demand for ebooks here. So we're trying to work that out. And this will be kind of the first step to try to resolve it, even though it's a takeaway for some.
Sounds good.
Hopefully it'll be good for others.
Clarification, this is only for ebooks?
Everything on the Libby app. So it
Okay.
would be the e-audio books, the magazines on Libby, anything you do on the Libby app. So if you were to check out 15 magazines
Per month.
per month,
Per month.
and then also 15, you're limited to 15 holds. So sometimes the holds will take, 9 months or a year to fulfill. So sometimes you can still manage your holds too.
So it will, okay, all right.
So we're seeing that's something we're trying to work on at the Marin.net level and try to make that a little more accessible.
The interesting part is with that, is that ebooks are very popular. And so this will impact some of our patrons who are using one of our most popular feature. So finding funding to resolve that would just make sure that those patrons are satisfied. Because the only reason we're doing it is because we're too popular.
Mhm.
So instead of just limiting their access, it would be good if we could increase our offer.
Is Libby the only access for ebooks?
It's the main one. We also have Hoopla,
Yeah, I was wondering that.
which isn't, but we only provide 8 checkouts and we have it capped at 450 a month. So each time someone checks it out, it's around $2 a use. So that could address the whole levy issue.
Well, it costs us more money than Libby because it's $2 per issue.
Yeah, and with the Libby app, ebooks, this might be its own topic in some ways, but ebooks have a complex pricing. So they cost a lot more than when you buy it at home. So some books are $60, $70. And they're also metered each one's a little different and it depends what the publisher does. And then some we buy and then they're metered, like we get it for 2 years. Other books, you get 20 checkouts with a book. Same with the audiobooks, but I think the big thing to take away is they cost a lot more than when you buy it at home for us. Where when we buy a book, the book is essentially the same price as you would as a consumer.
Mhm.
Jamie, how many books total are available through Libby?
I would have to look that up. I have that, no, I could email it to you.
Or next meeting.
Yeah,
But the first number that you shared was 66,000.
checkouts
That's how many checkouts,
in a year.
and certainly some power users are doing many checkouts. Versus 90,000 hard like physical book checkouts,
99.
99. So it's almost exactly 2/3 of that. And what is our limitation for total Libby checkouts?
Limitation in terms of the patron or the library?
No, why do
or-
we, in order to, we're scaling it back? Is it because specific books are always out?
Oh, yeah, so when we buy a book on Libby, there's often the popular ones get a hold list.
Okay.
And people add their name and say, I'll get it eventually. So if you look at some of them now, there might be like 300 holds on 10 copies.
Got it,
And
okay.
Libby also will show you at this, and it's automatically returned. And Libby does often show, you'll probably get this book in 9 months of everything.
Yeah.
You can return it on your own, but most people just let it expire.
What does it accomplish by reducing 25 down to 15 per person for concurrent Libby checkouts?
So if you have one person who's using 25 all the time,
Yep,
and then you have these other 10 people who are only using 2 or 3 books, ideally, by reducing that person to 15, those other 10 uses could be scattered to 10 different
okay,
people.
so it's the concurrent use, it's not total,
Yes,
it's just like the popular things, because some of the power users have 25, things are less available to other users at the same time.
When they're on a
And-
wait list, they're on several, it's
Yeah,
exactly the same thing as colleges, right? You have all these people who are just
Is-
applying for a book that you
well,
will not possibly be able to read anyway. You're
And-
holding a spot that you can't have.
could we, is there another solution such as increasing how many of the most popular books we have available?
Yeah, that would be actually, if we were to put more money into it, would be the easiest, well, not easiest, but the best for patrons
Yeah.
solution.
What do we spend on Libby now?
So we spend 1,500 a month or a year,
1,500 a year, okay.
where the county spends like 300,000.
300,
Yeah,
the county.
yeah,
Well, how many
So-
libraries does that cover?
10. So
So
also,
that's like 30 per library.
yeah, Sausalito
We're
last year.
1/20th of that.
Yeah, and we did a preliminary formula for our discussion. If you took our usage, and even gave us an equity discount based on our library budget, we're gonna be discussing this, so it hasn't been formalized. We should be spending, again, if you factor in our patron use and our budget, we should be spending around 15,000 to support it.
Not surprised, yeah.
So
we're-
we pay into MarinNet 100,000 a year.
Yeah,
And part of that purchases ebooks. So each library on their own goodwill is supposed to purchase into it. And so there's libraries like Mill Valley and Tiburon and the county, which have a lot more money. And then there's kind of libraries like us in San Rafael,
How much do we pay to Marinda?
100,000.
I think this makes perfect sense, because there are people out there who are just sitting on these things, and other people could be using these titles, but they can't because people have 25 titles.
I mean, I'll be honest, I think that a combination
Yeah.
is actually the ideal. Reduce that max, but also increase the total available with a bigger spend. And that seems more equitable.
Because we-
Yeah,
well,
one of our challenges kind of, well, we should probably agenda, we could maybe do this next time, but one of the challenges is we also have to buy a print book ratio. And so our print book is, we have the lowest budget, so we're probably not keeping up on the print books either. And the children's book budget, so that's probably one of our, we're pretty thin, but I agree, and we will have to work on that, and that's where maybe, the Friends or some other group could help spend, help us get to that number.
I know it's not on the agenda and we might want to put that for another time. But it would be really good to have good numbers, this way we can tell the supporting groups, this is what we need for that particular purpose. We need to purchase, we need an extra X amount so that we can provide an extra X amount of children's book, of print book, and of ebooks. If the ebooks are popular and we are limiting people getting them, it's.
We
Like
probably should be
defeating our
spending
purpose.
about 50,000 to 75,000 a year. If you were to not have a fix, but just kind of if we were Marin County proportionately. And we used to get 10,000 from the state. But that's no longer the case for ebooks.
Did
These
Baker
are
and
the
Taylor
type-
provide any?
No,
There's balance.
the short answer is no. Historically, at one time, they had a product we had in 16 or 17. And it didn't really go anywhere, so,
Okay.
but essentially, not at this time.
These are the type of items, so that the support group will be able to wrap their heads around and said, okay, you need X amount of money for, and they like it because it's a package. They can put their name on it. They put it in their letter.
Oh, but that's one of the challenges, I think, for some of the support groups. I haven't really talked to them, but they can't really put like a nameplate in it or,
When I say. they put their
that's
name on it,
harder.
It's not what I
there.
meant, the
Oh.
nameplate. I meant in their letter, when they talk to their supporter, they can say, we provided X
Hmm.
amount of money so that there would be so many
Yeah.
more ebooks, and we are trying, we know that we've been reduced from 25 to 15, and we're working toward improving that. On one hand, we need to do it so that it's fair and equitable. On the other hand, we need to redirect funding so that we can work this 15 back to something that what patrons want.
Yeah, I agree. So
Yeah,
also,
I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
I agree that-
For
Let's-
some
yeah,
people,
let's-
let's move
25
on.
books a month is,
Yeah.
well,
I'm
that's
not
all they do.
necessarily in agreement.
What?
I'm not necessarily in agreement. I think you should be careful about accommodating people who are hoarding books that they aren't really using. And I think
No.
to spread it out to more people, I think there are people who don't follow through with their ebooks because they can't get them for so long. And if you can make them available to them quicker, then.
What's the checkout period?
Hey, Jeff, the
It's
reduction from 25 to 15 goes towards that.
Yes, yeah, that's what I
But it's per
mean.
month.
That's what we
It-
should do.
But
We are,
it's-
that just was enacted.
I will, could I
Right.
suggest, we might want to I'll bring, but how about the next meeting, I'll bring some ebook figures.
Great.
And maybe a more, maybe getting more of the director's report
But
here,
Yeah.
I
wait a
guess.
minute, I think I
but-
misunderstood something. You said 25 to 15 per month, so it's not that they all have them at the same time. It's just for the months, they can check out 15 books instead of 25, even if they
But-
take them one after the other.
That's correct. They could have the 15 all at once, or they could check out one today, one tomorrow.
And one every day.
But it's often
Right.
driven
So-
on how their
So
holds
they're not
arrive.
really hoarding them, they just,
Well,
they might be, well,
Okay.
we
I
do.
mean, if
we
there
do
are
have-
limited books, they're keeping them from other people who might want them.
What's the checkout period for them?
They might not have them all at the same time.
Generally
They
3
might-
weeks.
Yeah,
They have one a day.
so a
Okay,
3
we
weeks.
read them.
Okay.
We do have
They go back
people
into the
who are housebound,
Yeah.
and if there's some books that you can read in an hour.
I suggest we add ebooks to the agenda for next
Yeah,
meeting.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy. That's
Yeah.
good. I mean, this
And
is a good
And it's
discussion.
rich,
yeah.
and it was question, so you'll
Yeah.
bring some more numbers. I mean, let's
Yeah.
get further into it. One question to bring the answer for is there a limit for consecutive checkouts of the same book to the same patron?
Yeah, that's a good question.
No, but they can't check it out if there's a hold
If there's a
list.
hold.
You can't
If there's a
redo it.
hold, you can't do it. If
Right.
there's no hold, you can.
Mhm.
Great, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
But this actually is part of a bigger discussion. We're gonna have this wonderful new space, and they're gonna be, we wanna amp up the service to go with it. So ebooks is part of that.
Yeah.
I don't know, another is, open hours and staffing. et
Yeah,
cetera.
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of cost pressures.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, and I'll bring something, I think this is good, and I think it is good, you're excited, because I think the more also we can advocate for it, the more it helps the
It's a great
patron.
idea.
Is there another question to have the answer next week is if there's a cap for how long you can have it checked out, because this is digital, it's an ebook, do you just automatically revoke it when the 3-week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right,
So-
Yes, it goes
Right,
quick.
so it's not like
At
a
the-
physical book, somebody can't be
No.
tardy
No.
in returning it.
at the exact second,
Literally, do it in the middle of
Yeah.
reading a page and it goes poof.
Boom.
at the exact second
Should've read
from,
it sooner.
I know.
I wish I were a
Faster.
faster
Right.
reader.
Generally
right, that's
faster.
right. Okay.
although if you do put it in airplane mode, you can sometimes get a little longer.
Oh, neat, okay.
Really?
Okay,
Well, yeah, because it can get you. They
Oh.
can reach. your reach.
Oh.
But we did not scratch that from the record.
Okay, well, that was good. That was,
That's great.
yeah, that was actually really good, so.
Sorry, we interrupted your report.
Yeah.
Was there any,
I think those were the big highlights, I think. Oh, I should, well, one I'll just mention real quick is some of you probably know this already, but the building is sealed now. So it's constructed now, it's all interior work. So it's on schedule and everything's going good there, so.
it's just less dramatic? Because there's nothing to see from the webcam. So are they gonna move the webcam indoors?
I could ask, I haven't heard about that.
Because all you see when you look at it, it's exactly the same thing. Just there's no more, oh,
They-
the window came up.
They will be doing a little landscape. I think the big woo is gone, but they will be doing landscaping, the parking lot, and so there'll still be a little,
cool.
few.
Did you give an update on the schedule for when things are finished?
I was thinking of doing that in
Oh,
the transition in
great.
6.2.
Okay, is it for the oral report?
Yeah.
We will move to business item 6.1, programming policy.
So I was hoping today to go over a little bit. I had the bullet points document I put forth, and then thanks to Susan, developed a lot of other materials and programming research, so we appreciate that. What I was hoping today is having a discussion almost similar like what we just had on ebooks about programming policy. And what I'd like to do is after the discussion, I'll write up a programming policy
Mhm.
and then bring something like that forward to you. And the programming policy I'm hoping to develop is going to be kind of broad and not get into the procedure quite yet, but it's going to try to get it. I want to see kind of what you're thinking on some broad principles, maybe that other libraries do. And then this will help us work with people as they want to propose programs. And so like today, someone wanted to do an antique show at the new library in April. And that's why these kind of policies are good.
Did I
Yes.
have one of the bullet points? Because I got everything except that. Oh, signature, please. I just go with that. Let's keep
Yeah,
going.
that one's
Okay.
really
Let's keep
good.
going.
And so what I did here is I worked on like the Marin County one when I was at the county, which Susan had brought in your packet. And so I've kind of done a few policies. And so what I wanted to just bring forth were a few kind of core principles many libraries do, and kind of just get initial thoughts on it. So a lot of generally almost every library has free and programs that are open to everyone. So we wouldn't do any program where there was a fee to attend. And so for me, that's like a core tenet. We'd also not sell our list to people about who's coming. And then we'd always try to make it safe and welcoming. So those are kind of the, why do we program? I think you want to say we want to promote reading and learning. And we also want to do a lot, that kind of goes back to, our mission, which you might remember is before Susan and Ansgen, but our primary is we want to focus on literacy, knowledge, and community. So again, reading and learning, that's a big thing there. Intergenerational engagement and social opportunities. This, I think, is like what Storytime provides for adults and the moms who are attending and the kids. So that we want to provide that, and that's the community aspect. Personal growth and enrichment. We want to build dynamic communities that reflect Larkspur's needs and values. So the programming we're going to do is going to reflect Larkspur. It may not reflect San Rafael. And so that's another kind of, discussion, what, those values are. The city doesn't really have a values, statement per se, but that's something I'd like to have her do. And then
where would that come from? The values of Larkspur?
That right now would be something we would have to just get a general feel for. And so for me, what it means right now is a little bit opposite. So the county library system, like Coeur d'Alene and San Rafael, they have a large sentiment towards equity initiatives. And so we would still do some equity initiatives, but we may not do a program focused on homeless outreach or other social service needs at this time. If the community evolves such, we might do something like that. I think for me, again, just being in Larkspur, it's a very family-friendly place. So we would do a lot of family forward programs. We have a lot of older adults who value like reading and book clubs. That's what I sense here. I think that's kind of general at this point, but it will kind of target us, and then we'll work towards what those kind of values are. A lot of cities have value statements about what they do. Larkspur just doesn't right now have one.
If we get to revising the mission statement, then that could get into some of those values and
So
as subsets.
the mission statement we redid in 2019, I just had it right
Oh,
here. And
23.
23,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
From
so-
2017 to 2023, that's where I have it here. And the reason we shortened it so much from what it was is that we wanted something that was really broad and could be Remember, you were there.
I
Mhm.
do.
And we wanted something
He's
that
got
would
down
be
to 10.
easy
Yeah.
to, so revising it now, it's probably premature,
Furniture, okay.
given, especially with a new space coming, it's important to, and we whittled it down to something that would just work for everyone all the time.
I think the mission statement for the libraries is still relevant and excellent.
Yeah.
And I think just to call out Larkspur values, that seems like it would come from something broader than the library, like city council or another body.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in it too. When I saw this, I was intrigued because I'm curious what the Larkspur
Okay.
values are.
Maybe needs.
But
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
maybe.
the needs as well.
Yeah,
but
needs
that's
maybe.
what I was,
that-
when you gave the explanation of it, I think that rather than value, it's more what the Larkspur specific needs and
Yeah, that's
are.
this, yep.
Yeah.
More than,
It-
and the values can, you're right, we should probably get them. We hope that ours will guide us.
You could simply say reflect the Larkspur community and leave it at that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I think they're definitely just, we want
I
this
like
to
it,
be
Susan.
Larkspur's library.
Mhm.
So I think community, that some of a word like values can be loaded
Yeah.
for some
Yeah.
people.
And
We
it
really
begs
have
the
to
question
develop
of,
it.
well,
What,
what are they?
but yeah, and until probably the city has them written down or the library were to write them down.
Yeah.
It's not a good statement, so. And so the other thing I think programming can do, and these are the fun ones, is introducing attendees to library resources. So
Love that.
2 weeks, like last week, we had a magic show. Very entertaining. It was over 100 kids downstairs. But he kept pushing in like the library, get a library card, learn about magic books.
Mm.
So I think, and I saw kids come out there with wonder books, some of our newer collections. And so like, that's the type of thing when I'm introduced to library resources, in addition to maybe having a program for adults on a topic where they take materials.
What I do like about what you just said is that it links to our mission, which is to create a space for literacy, knowledge, and community. And if we have events and programs that circle back to our presence as a library, it's not only a place where people come to be entertained, it's a place where people come to be introduced to something that they can then research on their own through the library resources. And it makes our presence a lot deeper and more significant, than just being a space where you come and you have a magic show and then you go home and you forget about it.
I think that's right.
So let's encourage all our presenter to just tie back to,
Yeah.
now you do it on your own.
Yeah, and I think also too, like with the new library, when we do more children's program, I think you're gonna see the use of that going to go up because they get right to the books.
Mhm.
I think that's gonna be there. So that's kind of some of the programming I was thinking provides. The other thing to go into the next part is, these are what libraries typically exclude. So typically, we don't sell services or products. Some libraries do kind of do an accommodation where an author could sell their book and then the friends will get a percentage of the sales. That's somewhat common, but we don't come here and if you have your private business, we don't do that generally in libraries. We generally don't do politically partisan programming. So we might do something with the League of Women Voters, like we do downstairs, but we wouldn't have a specific yes on kind of, or vote for me.
So it's informational.
Correct.
Yeah, it's informational.
It's our knowledge part.
Generally, we don't do also religious services, anything that recruits folks. So you can kind of like the military, we probably wouldn't do a recruiting kind of thing or another organization. We tend not to do hate speech. We don't want programs where we don't want hate speech or only allows a certain race or gender to attend. Again, unsafe and kind of again, that program's not aligned with our mission, and then private or closed events. This might be different for the meeting room and the city rents it out. That's why I want to kind of keep them separate. There might be a reason the city rents out, like CMPA right now. But generally, we're not going to have events where people can't attend.
Police, CMP,
Central Marin Police Authority,
yeah,
police station.
right, but only, do they do private events? Do they do community events for groups, association, this type of thing?
They have a different tier structure where you can rent the room.
If you are just you and me, just the regular people wanting to have a birthday party?
Well, I don't know about the birthday party, but
I think
because-
it's private, but they still are community, it would, I think it would be like neighborhood associations. Or-
yeah,
But not, is it private?
yeah,
It's
I
Still
mean, you
not,
just said up here at the top, though, that the programs need to be free and open to everyone.
Mhm,
So that would preclude
mhm, the private part.
private.
Yeah,
but a neighborhood association may want to rent the room at the new library.
Right.
But that wouldn't be a library program.
But the event
Right.
would have to be
Correct.
open.
correct.
Well, that's to be, I think, worked out if it is something that's more of a room policy than a
Yes.
library policy. Because the programming policies, the programs may not actually take place in those rooms. It might actually take place in the children's space or outdoors.
Yep.
So some of that we'll have to see how that
But
goes.
This is strictly for the programs that are organized by the library, for the library.
Right, so that, I think that's a big part is the libraries organizing and sponsoring all these programs in my mind. And there would kind of jump again, but we would always provide like a staff liaison, we would promote it.
Should we put that in there?
I have it under implementation
It's
a
on the
little bit.
But can private groups use this space and limit the attendees?
That'll be something the room policies, which is a little different than the program policy.
Because I mean, you've got two kinds of programs. You've got those that are initiated by the library,
These are the one we're focusing on tonight.
and the others have to do with using the space or
That's another policy.
You know, yeah, does the library policies extend to activities in the rooms that might be sponsored by somebody else or organized by somebody else?
We don't know yet, that, because the city will develop the room policies. And we'll be talking with them about that, what the library needs are. The three meeting rooms are city funded, and so we'll be obviously probably using them, and in the planning of it, we've been talking about how the library would use the spaces, and everything. But
Like this space here, it wouldn't be under the auspices of the library, it'd be under the auspices of the
Yeah.
city.
Can you say that again? So there are meeting rooms in the confines of the library that are not governed by the library. They're governed by the city.
yes,
is that the community room,
the community rooms,
but not the study rooms?
we haven't discussed that yet. I would guess not, but we haven't formalized that yet.
But a lot of these principles would have to adhere to anybody using the library
Yeah.
rooms.
Mhm.
Yes.
You don't want hate speech or
Oh,
proselytizing and,
That's why I was thinking,
And-
it extends.
yeah.
This room, use this room as an example. This doesn't feel like this is part of the library.
It's not.
No, but it has library programs sometimes.
That's
Yes.
fine, but it's the opposite for, in the new library, rooms that are inside of that building,
would be
which is
city,
the library, are
Not
not
library.
governed by the library,
Yes, there are rooms there that won't be governed by the library.
okay?
Yeah, and
That'll be like this.
That's what the money that the city put in pays for.
Understood.
so that's different, I think, than the 4 study rooms where individuals will be.
So there might be a separate policy for the study rooms than for the city governed community rooms, and then the library at large for the programs.
Yeah,
And
the
that all
cities-
makes sense.
There could be city-sponsored programs in those other rooms that have nothing to do with the libraries.
That's
I
right.
understand it.
City sponsored.
Yes,
That's
Yeah.
some city sponsored.
That's right.
And they
And-
should have, I mean, there are things like priorities, so library programming
What's
takes
that?
If you
priority,
don't like them.
city ones, and then private groups.
Yeah.
Because some of
Yeah.
these address that.
yeah, and then some, do you limit groups to how often they can use it? Once a month or 4 times a year, you have some of those kind of things, and then we may have a lot of programs outside too,
Fantastic.
so we'll have to see.
And there probably could be, some sort, like there could be eventually, if the city wanted to use those rooms more and more at the expense of the library programming, could be problematic. But at this point, maybe that should be something to consider in the future, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll have to see. The large meeting room will be equipped to handle city council meetings, so they're gonna put in like the television system. So, Marine, but I forget, Marine Community Cable. And the person who runs the city council meetings, it could be a backup city council meeting in there.
Venue.
Most people won't notice it. It's not gonna have, a dais like this, but it'll just have tables and chairs, but it could be in the event that, especially if this gets remodeled.
Understood.
But it is nice to have this as a template to educate the city as to the use of those rooms too.
I mean, one thing I
Mhm.
noticed when I went through all these is that programming and room use are meshed,
Uh-huh.
And so room use, there's gonna be some city things that come into play there as to use, but like what's excluded, I would think most of those things would apply to non-library programming.
Exactly, yeah, I hope.
Yeah,
This, well, the city is short of space. They are not going to, I hardly believe that they would let the precious space go to some activity that has, one, nothing to do with city activity, government activity, or library activity. Because those rooms are gonna be in demand for,
but then that has to be, I mean, for the staff making decisions about how these rooms are used, they need some kind of principles so that they have a leg to
Yeah.
stand on.
I hope the city just
Hmm.
doesn't see it as a way to monetize that space somehow.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
another
I
issue.
doubt it. I would doubt
I think it's helpful to have clarity over the 3 separate things. There's the library programming, and this is a great start. Great job, Damon. Then there's the city community rooms, and then there are study rooms. And just let's make sure everything is clear of what falls under which policies. This is for programming, and that's what we're talking about
Hmm.
now. But it raises the question, does all of this apply to one or both, all the study rooms and or the community rooms? And let's just make sure it's explicit.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a library program and it's in one of the community rooms, then it applies for sure, of course.
That's
Yeah.
covered by
it.
this,
Yes.
but there could be non-library programming happening there. And I'm interested in knowing that some of these things, which I consider protections, would apply, and if not, I just would like to hear rationale for why not.
Yeah, that makes
And or a
sense.
way to make sure the library is distinctively removed from whatever there may be in those community rooms that don't have anything to do with library programming.
Do you know if the city is also working on programming and policies that we could ask to see and discuss
Yeah.
that? Because they're like us, they've got these rooms coming and they might just think about, some activity that they would like to do there. Just have meetings, I don't know
Yeah.
what they would be.
Yeah, I know we've had some initial discussions, but nothing too formal. And as you know, this is kind of where city staff usually meets. This is where we have our staff meetings and everything like that. Also the rec department's moving. They're looking at doing that facility. So there's a lot of kind of moving parts, with this, and there's a lot of demand. I've probably had 10 to 12 people contacting me wanting to reserve the room over there already. Like, do you have it on the first Thursday? Our group wants to meet, so, and so we're not quite there yet. So the city is aware. And I think the city manager is currently thinking to start with the written policy developed by the Central Marin Police Authority, which is linked to right there, as kind of a starting point and seeing where that works there. Because that was when Larkspur, that kind of started that room in Larkspur before it had merged. It was the Twin Cities Police back then.
Yeah.
You might remember. And so that would be kind of, I think, the starting point. And it's a pretty detailed document at the Central Marin Police Authority for different circumstances.
So do you think that the library programs are going to be limited by the city use of those meeting rooms? That there would be some children reading or senior book groups that would not be able to happen because a staff meeting for the planning department is happening in one of those rooms?
I think we'll have to work, together on it, and we're fortunate to have 3 different distinct, there's a medium room, a room this size, and then a really small, more conference room. And so I think part of it's gonna be figuring certain things out in the flow. Probably, I would guess, if there's a city council meeting, which is laws, always the first Wednesday, the library would probably just be aware that that's gonna happen at 6 PM on the first and third Wednesdays, and probably, especially if this was under renovation and we knew that had to be there, we'd probably just kind of work within that framework. So I think we'll have to kind of go through it. The other thing is, we're also gonna have, limited hours when the library's open. Mill Valley, Tiburon, the other libraries are open like 9 AM to 8 PM. We're gonna probably be open 7 hours, so some of our programming might be limited to when our hours are and when the city is, so
Right.
I think some of it will need to work a few
Can the
things out.
community room be used when the library is not open? Is it closed off? Locked?
Yeah. So that would be able to be, the community room could be used when
For
we're,
the city,
no.
when the library is closed, the city could use that. This is a conflict that I am anticipating of having, not city council, but they're always at night, but having a planning commission or the planning department or a rec department meeting, a staff meeting, and interfering, well, I think that word, it's not what I meant, but just having some cohabitation issues because we're having a magic show happening, and it's going to be a better library, but it's not going to be a bigger library.
It is like us meeting up here, though, when the library's closed and city council isn't being used. However, we should have first dibs.
Mhm.
A
Maybe
lot of
that should be
these,
built, maybe that should be
Yeah.
built.
I mean, a lot of these policies prioritize library programming. So
I
whether or
think-
not we
Yeah.
can do that,
I think,
I think there are 2
I don't know if
things,
we can do that though.
Jeff, I agree with you. I think there are 2 things that we should also get defined. One is there a priority sequence of who has preference? And the other one is, who decides if there's a conflict?
well, yeah, that's a good point, Dan,
Okay,
but,
So-
but my delegate, yeah, but that
right,
is,
but let's just have it,
Yeah, no.
You know,
How can we find out from, because it's not only us, board or library, it's also the patron who have,
they're the ones affected.
I saw your
Yeah.
face when you realized that those 3 community rooms were not library rooms, they were community rooms directly by the city.
Which is fine.
Which, and I am quite certain that there are many patrons who do not realize
Yeah.
that there will be city business conducted in the library,
It might not be a conflict. It can be harmonious. I'm sure that's the
Yeah.
intention.
of course.
But what we can do is have a clear understanding of how does it get booked? Are there principles and guidelines or priorities that govern it, and who decides?
Yeah.
And then also, how is the schedule published and it's, you know, knowable by
The
patrons
calendar.
and other people that want to reserve it. So
So how
all
could we
that goes
find
into it.
that out so that we can put that information out for the patrons so that they're not faced with, how do we get to know?
that's the point.
Yeah,
That is the request. And,
Yeah.
you know, there's still some time.
I mean, the point is, it seems to me to have a programming and room use policy is so that it's transparent to the public, what the rules, the policies, the principles are, so they understand the what and why. And then
Agreed.
the staff needs a leg to stand on in deciding how the programming and room use that they have control over happens.
Mhm.
right, but we only set the policies for the rooms, for the library. And
Well, for programs of the library and library space, and then the other is probably more influence rather than dictate.
correct, but understanding is a good step.
Do you think it should be limited just to Larkspur residents?
I had that question,
Maybe.
Well,
to reserve the rooms.
Yeah, so I know that, just something that'll come up.
so,
They'll be.
because the use of the library is not limited,
No,
but used by all, reserved.
Yeah,
Probably half-
Programmed, reserved, that
half
would
our,
make sense.
half our usage now, I would say, is non-Larkspur residents. Just because
What?
we're by Corte Madera, Kentfield, I mean,
Yeah.
we're so close. When you look at library cards and checkout, so I don't think any of the programs, that's why the program would always be free and open to everyone. But when you get into the room use, it might, but that might fall within the priority thing like you're
Yeah,
suggesting.
I mean, library, just in the best of all worlds, the library programming would have priority, then city business, then groups.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be that neat and
the
tidy.
room used by patrons would mostly be the study room. And
Study rooms are governed by the library.
that's what, but you would say.
The
Does it
city's
make
gonna,
sense to limit it to Larkspur residents? I don't think so. Patrons are patrons,
Well, I think he was talking about the community rooms.
for the
other two.
community room.
That's
Yeah,
what he
but
was
we
talking about.
have no say on that.
Well, no, we do for the library programs that take place in those rooms.
Yeah.
The question is,
So limiting it, limiting it to the Larkspur patron to attend them?
not
No,
attend, to
Organized.
to organize,
organize.
or when we're working with it.
Yeah.
To, and more, this is more with the program policy. Often libraries will partner with community groups to put on programs because they're more experts at things. And so, you know, where do we, that'll probably have some sort of priority list as we're going through. Like, I think we would partner with Larkspur programs, but we might also want to do something, you know, with a group from Corte Madera
Yeah.
who has a great idea in a program and wants to put on something here. Probably would do it, but it's just something to think about.
It seems that to limit to Larkspur is like depriving ourselves of a great resource that just happens not to be in Larkspur. Just, you know, going back to the magician. A great magician who is in Kentfield, and boom, we can do it because we put a policy if it's limited to Larkspur residents. I don't, in terms of programming, what we want is, we want the best that we can, that the community can offer or can get. So closing and limiting to Larkspur is not gonna solve our space problem. It's only gonna clip our wings.
I think it comes down to who is setting that calendar and approving it, regardless of where it may come from. And then a Larkspur program and a non-Larkspur program are both proposed and vying for it. Again,
Discretion of the
Yeah.
library.
Yeah,
library.
it's just what is more appropriate in terms
Yeah.
of timing, in terms of, it just has so many other criteria that the location of the originator is almost so far down the list of priority of consideration that I don't think it's necessary.
This is nice to have this discussion and have these things to kind of figure out in the next few months. But we also have to be really happy that we do have all this
Yeah.
space.
Mhm.
too.
This is a good problem to
It's a
Yeah.
have.
really good problem to
I
have,
know, it's, yeah.
but, this is the time to kind of try to hash
It's our
it out. as much as
responsibility
possible.
to
Yes.
use it well, because
Yeah.
it is, out of gratitude, let's
Yeah,
use it well and with transparency.
All right,
For,
Yeah.
should we move on to
Right.
this policy conversation?
well, Damon's still going through the
Yes.
bullets.
The other one I wanted just to highlight that the one we may do is set age limits. Libraries, usually this is for teens.
Mhm.
So we would, do programs for 6th to 9th grade or something like that, or story times 0 to 18 months or something like that. That would be kind of potential. We wouldn't do it for adults, but that would be maybe one restriction
that'd be great.
for
I
children.
think that makes sense. That's a possible restriction. So that's
Hmm.
basically saying it's possible to do a program that is age limited.
Yeah,
Could we, rather than limit, just suggest an age? I'm
Yeah.
just thinking for like a craft program we would have that is really aimed at kids who are in primary school or elementary school, but we would have a patron who, for other reasons, is really would really benefit from that program, but happens to be in a different, slightly older age group. And that would be a call from you or whoever is organizing it. But if we don't set limits, but guidelines, just suggested age, it will allow for people who are not quite in those, especially children who have learning disabilities, to be included and not have to specifically ask for a dispensation. I'm, 8 years old, but I really want to make Play-Doh like with the 4 years old. And
no, I think that's good. And I think that's where we do intergenerational program. I think some libraries do that. If you were to think we were to have like a teen program targeted towards like their tweens, but all of us showed up and there's only one tween.
Hmm.
It's gonna make that one tween
Mhm.
somewhat uncomfortable, probably.
well, I'm not saying no limit, not saying age, 7 to 10 only, but just saying age, I don't know how you formulate it, but just set the guidelines, just preferable for age 7 to 10, so that it is stated, but it's not a limit.
I think
No,
that
we could-
the point of that is that you don't want it to be negative, and sound like it's limited, but I liked your language with preferable for ages, blah, blah. Then it's an invitation
Well,
as
It
opposed to
says-
as
well, it
opposed to
said if-
limitation.
If you're 15 and you see Play-Doh and you see, for age 7 to 10, you would say, well, I'm not going to be with a bunch of 7 or 10 years old. But if you really, if what the attraction is Play-Doh because this is all you can do, and then it becomes a possibility, as you said, it just, rather than just,
No, it could be a guideline and it might depend on each program and what it's trying to
Yes.
achieve
Yeah,
and what the outcome is, and making sure, again, going back to making sure everyone feels safe and welcoming. Program that the attendees, more young children feel safe and welcomed. And I think your examples, those are kind of good, and we've done that like with Art Day downstairs. Multi-intergenerational, different people doing different crafts at different stations. And so, and also, maybe it's an adult book club, but maybe a little child wants to come, little 6-year-old feels comfortable. Probably wouldn't ask them to be excluded, but it'd be a guideline that it's an adult book club.
that's, so if we could replace the word limits with guidelines, I'd be very happy.
Okay,
well, I agree with what you're saying. And in general, it's probably helpful to suggest
Mhm.
who any program might appeal to. But I wonder, are there instances where it still would be helpful and worth having a limit? Separate from a suggestion, so that you can avoid having a very different, audience come or mingle and do it, like the example that you gave. I think there could be both. And
In that case, it would be said for each program that there is, what we can say, for each program, there would be a limit or guideline, and then it's up to the person who is organizing it to just.
That's actually for children's programming. It doesn't apply to anybody else. So for children's programming, there may be guidelines for avoidance.
And like what we did last week, we had sugar skulls for, Day of the Dead. And the presenter wanted it to be 10 and above. Because like a 2-year-old can't do the craft.
mhm,
And probably but we didn't ID people or anything, when they come in, when they signed up. And then once the kids were filled, we let the parent go for it. But we also, it's kind of balancing, making sure the kid, you don't want someone too young who can't succeed at it. That's another kind of, depends on it. But it could be a guideline, and I think there's common sense here where
Right,
the 9-year-old who's a high achiever could do that versus an
Yeah.
18-month,
Right.
but it gives us a little tool to say, well, it probably isn't,
yeah,
we have a story time for your child, but this is more for.
it sounds like we're just playing with semantic there, and that we all understand that it's just making it safe and giving everybody an opportunity within reason, so.
But I like guidelines, so I'll switch that, and then, it's also good to maybe keep this broad and then tighten it down as issues arise. And we're seeing this is occurring, that then kind of maybe going that, but I do like the more welcoming guidelines, because the examples I'm giving, no, it's never happened. They're extreme, so.
Right,
But I think you've gotten to a point about tone. And in reading some of these things, they were just so bureaucratic. And that's
some of the
not,
other examples,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's not what we're about.
yeah,
And I think, having all of it be welcoming and inclusive is important.
Yeah, and I think that's where the policy is nice, because that can be there, and I think probably for some of the procedures where people sign off on things, you probably need an attorney to review some of those things, which tends to make it a little tighter, not as friendly.
Yeah.
But we do definitely I think that's good feedback, is the welcoming tone of all this.
I have one question. You mentioned that somebody wants an antique show. I mean, how does that fit in with what we were just talking about? What is
Well,
that? And
I would think, and
that's
again,
just an example. I'm not-
yeah, I would say, and again, not knowing, I know the Friends did one years ago. And they did it up here, and people could bring their item to the person to get a value appraisal.
So it was Antique Roadshow.
Yeah.
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 And I'm not sure how the fee structure worked, if people were paying or whatever, and it was a friend sponsored event. But it was popular with the groups, and, a lot of people had stuff to bring. It was when, I think it's 17 or 16, because the person actually reached out. Yeah, it was the same person who had done it before, but it was a Friends program. It wasn't a library program. But the Friends did it up here when they had the space. So the Friends sponsored, but the library wasn't. Well, they probably were involved, but it was a distinction,
It was more about appraisal than selling stuff.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was an exchange of information.
Yeah, that's why I was curious.
It's,
It just is an
And
example.
it was a Friends program, the same way that they do all sorts of other fundraisers that we benefit.
This is really solid though, Damon, I think. And then in looking
Yes,
over the other ones too, it incorporates the things that are important in all those other ones too, so. You can see your fingerprints all over that print. now. So that's great that you have that expertise.
we
It's
still
fun to
have
read the other ones.
implementation.
Oh my God.
We still have implementation
Oh.
to go over.
Yeah, just real quick, the
Yeah.
director should provide direction and budget.
Perfect.
And so basically, if it's a library program, some staff person should be involved in some level. I'm hoping to take programs to make them like larger. I could see like a book club not being run by staff, but by a trusted community member. And we promote it, but there's some sort of library liaison, and we.
That's the partnership, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, that, we're doing that and people can still do it. The program would still be, you would have to welcome anyone. But like at Fairfax, once they did like a sustainability book club, a lot of people were interested in sustainability, and so staff sponsored it. But someone else selected the books, we put it they put it in the newsletter. So I'm thinking that might be something, but we would still be involved, and then we would decide, we would be the ones deciding how to do the Friends money.
Right.
Great.
And then this gets a little on the how, but we would promote programs. We have a lot of tools, but just, that's a big part of the implementation.
This is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
And so I think this was all good feedback, and I don't know if Susan, if you want to mention anything else from your documents. Also, if you had a comment couldn't make, maybe just email me in the next week or want to
Okay.
talk to me. I think this was really good for me to hear all this too, because you're very knowledgeable and you do programs. So I'll turn this into more something of a written document, and then I'll send it out ready to go ahead of time. And then we can have maybe kind of another discussion. And then hopefully the whole board could be here and kind of approve it,
Yes.
there, or if we need another month, that would be okay. But I also think it also gives us support as we talk about the priorities of the room. It also gives us that the library board, myself, feel like this is important. And as we talk with the city more about the room use.
Yes. Yeah, so this will be a format that we can follow for the other policies, especially the policies for the review.
Which I think will be a lot more detailed and a lot more interest. This is a little higher up a little bit, and like having them free maybe as a controversial topic, like some of the other ones we might get into with the room use.
So you're saying the next steps would be, you will be putting it into a document, sending it to us, we will discuss it and approve it.
Yeah. Or
next
not
meeting.
approve it, I guess. Could be another,
Right.
could be another, no, I'm just kidding.
Eventually, we would come to
Correct.
something that we would approve. So
Yeah, and
that's-
based on kind of the feedback we talked about here, because I think you had good points. So I'll write something up more in a paragraph format.
And that's something that you think that we can do next month,
I think I could do that. This was pretty good discussion.
an agenda.
Thanks for these other ones too, because those are really fun to read through, and the nuances, like being familiar with some of these other places, you think, oh yeah, I could see how they would have to put that into theirs to, accommodate their specific situation.
Well, it raises a question I have about the community rooms, the small, medium, and large rooms. Do they have names, and are they set already?
They do. I know the large room is the Rosenberger room, Larry Rosenberger. The other two, I think, but the Commons would know
Okay.
that for sure. And I know when we did the ceremony with the golden shovels, they had actually put the names of the rooms by people.
Great.
And the small breakout rooms, those are also named for people. I know one's named after the Friends,
Great.
and then those three are also named.
Cool.
So until we hear from the city, it's very hard to develop the room use policies.
I think, yeah,
So you're gonna see that separate from programming.
yeah, that'll be separate. And then the other thing I'll mention on the room use, especially if the library is managing these, I'm hoping the city will get software. Mill Valley, Tiburon use that, so it's controlled through software instead of a paper system.
Absolutely.
To reserve.
To reserve.
To reserve and manage and cancel and.
Yeah. Sign up. and-
all that. There's a few different LibCal, there's a few software programs. Right now, they do it by hand over at the police station. So I think with 3 and then 4 rooms, having software will make everyone's life a little easier.
But when it gets to room use, then we'd want to put what rooms are available, what the occupancy is, what's available in terms of AV, et cetera.
Yeah, and
That should all
if there's
be
an
there.
application needed
Yeah.
to fill out, there should be a link maybe to a PDF or some online submission
So they
form.
know.
Yeah,
And I would assume the city would put any restrictions on the use of those 3 community rooms that would inhibit library programming somehow.
Mm.
And that just dawned on me, but I
That's,
don't think that
That's
would be a
what
problem.
we're worried about.
that's the point I agree, yeah.
yeah, it's something to think about, because we used to be able to do programming up here, but then it stopped. But out of fairness, it's because it's not safe to come, especially for children there. And we'll have also outdoor programs too, but I think there is gonna come a time where multiple people want to use the same space.
Yeah.
And where do we fit in for that? And I know we're gonna have the teen room, and sometimes we can work in different things, like if we're having a small teen program, I could see it being in the teen room, because that's glassed off. But then other times we might have a larger program where we're getting more people, and that small space won't suffice. I know a few of the other libraries, I know Jess, our teen librarian, would like to also open up the large meeting room if it's not reserved as a teen like study area. So I think there might be, it'd be interesting if there's no use, and at the county, all the libraries opened up their meeting rooms to the public because space was so limited. This new library is gonna have a lot more seating, so I don't know if that's gonna be an issue.
What kind of furniture is in the large meeting room? I mean, is it tables, chairs? et cetera?
Yeah, foldable table, more modern than this, but kind of, foldable rolling tables and chairs that stack.
Beanbag. Beanbag.
We-
Yeah,
Great.
And then the small meeting room is more of a round table,
Yeah.
like a conference room.
at some point, we will talk about the use of the rooms, and what we can do is maybe come up with a list of our existing programs and their physical demands, but we know that we have one teen meeting, and we have story time, and we have several book groups. And just having that and distributing them in the room will just say, staking our rooms, saying, on Wednesday, second Wednesday of the month, is the book group, and then there's a mystery book group, so that it's kind of planned out and already
A
staked
calendar.
out.
Yeah, and I think that helps everyone, because I think a lot of people would see, oh, 4 o'clock's booked, but I can do 5 for
But
whatever.
in terms of setting the policies, it will help. It does help if you know what activity are actually going to take care, instead of just take place in each room, instead of just imagining and having something that is not so specific. It's a lot easier to build from the specific to the general than from the general to specific sometimes.
In a way, you're talking about staking a claim.
Yes, we will stake a claim to the rooms, knowing how many programs we have and how many rooms we need per week. So when we talk about rooms, we can use that list of existing programs or programs that we would like to expand, and we just, so we would like to do them, we can't do them now.
Are you just suggesting that as we develop the policy, we have as a reference,
Yeah.
the entirety of all the programs? I think that would be very useful.
Yes,
I agree.
it's like
Yeah.
building a house and knowing
Yeah.
how many kids you have.
Well, because then you can say
Yeah.
to, say, the city, oh, we have a regular program here at that time. And work around it.
An established program.
Yes.
Well, that's for the active scheduling, but I also thought you were saying it's
Yes.
helpful to refer to the actual
Correct.
programs when drafting the policies, and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you know the programs better than anybody, but I think that would be very useful to furnish that list of all the programs for instance, like
That are-
this year.
That
That-
physically,
yeah, that-
and
that
any
would be
other program
referred
that
to.
have been tabled for lack of space or lack of staff. Just even the one that
sure.
we
Mhm.
know there's demand for, but we were never able to implement them. Implement them would be a good thing to have when we build the policy. Then we have something tangible to build it around, to serve. We know what program those policies, those rooms need to serve.
So that makes sense.
I mean, one thing that came up in some of these documents was the proposal for an outside group. They have to make a proposal and then you weigh it against the mission almost
Mhm.
of the library, whereas city departments don't have that obligation. So that's different. And how they reserve is different.
Yeah, that's true. That's gonna be very kind of different. I would kind of thinking for some of those to have, and this is jumping in a little bit, like a program form, submission form, where basically kind of give us a little outline of what you're
Yeah.
doing and thinking and your background and why this benefits the community. Something like that.
That's something we can
Sounds-
help you hatch too. Just, you can maybe put the form, just, and then we can just help you go over it and make sure that all the boxes are checked.
Yeah, that'd
And
be,
most
If
other
you want-
libraries have links to.
If you want to do that
yeah, and
for
I-
program proposal and room use, requests. If you can make sure that everything in there. Can we close that discussion on program policy?
yeah, I
That
think,
was fun.
yeah, that was good. That was helpful. So
Thank
we'll
you,
talk a little
everyone.
more about that.
Update on transition ceremonies. Do we have that committed, everyone?
Well, I guess I'll say this real quick and I'll let Susan and I went to the book brigade meeting.
Yeah.
That's probably the one update. One thing that right now, the building is on a good schedule, so they're trying to finish all the construction by the Super Bowl, which would be February 11th or so. That's a name thrown out, and then from there, there's a small series of small things that have to occur for final approval, move in, inspection. Yeah, so the city doesn't want to put out a date really strong like this is happening. Right now, kind of spring is what we're saying, but one thing we talked about at the book brigade, just as a potential schedule, if it all worked out right, but very soft, kind of say, make sure this isn't firm, maybe move March 16th and opening up March 28th. So it is moving kind of quick, which would impact the book brigade
Right?
kind of discussion. Because the book brigade was originally thinking maybe more early May.
Yeah,
So again, some of these depend on when certain things occur, but that's not that far away when you
Wow.
really,
No, it's not.
and how fast these next 2 months will go. I haven't had much discussion on the final ceremony downstairs yet. We kind of talked about maybe a tea or just maybe it's something, something really, whoever comes. We don't really have much energy around that, where I think the new library, there's different types of programs, but there's much more energy around opening the new library than closing this one, which makes sense. So I don't know if you want to talk about the.
No, I mean, there are minutes from the meeting and Diana takes excellent notes. So I don't know, do you want to send that? to
I can
people?
send those out. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Great.
met the 28th of October.
Is someone, there was a comment from somebody at last meeting about having somebody overseeing all of it, the opening ceremonies, book brigade, just coordinating the calendar and any funding that's needed. Was there any discussion at the meeting about that?
Yeah, it came up to create some kind of calendar. I'm not sure under whose auspices. That seems a little,
Yeah, I don't think we have a good I think it's needed. We don't know who's kind of doing it, or if like, because I think the Commons will drive a lot of the openings. Probably ultimately on some level, the library will have some kind of calendar because we'll be involved with it. But in terms of groups and the friends wanting to do this event on that day or we,
There's not one.
yeah, I think we need more dates. Like, I think once we know, right now, we're kind of sketching it out a little bit. So I don't think until, like with the book brigade, we're thinking this day or that day, the closing ceremony might be this day or that day. I guess, and then probably all the budget would be from different support groups. So I think it probably would be whatever the friends could afford, or, I'm not really sure what the Larkspur Library Foundation will want to do. I think that they'll go through their process and we'll see what kind of comes of that. And I know the Commons, Ann and I met last week. They have a few, they're gonna do a donor kind of dinner before, and they're gonna do some kind of preview kind of things. Again, kind of vague, but
For the clothing, I do remember somebody mentioning an memory book.
mhm,
And I thought it was not a bad idea because it would be, people remember at different times. If you have one event, I don't know if it happens to any of you, just you go to an event and then when you leave and 2 hours later or 3 days later, says, oh, I could have said that. It just triggers something and I thought that might not be a bad thing to have. I don't know if any website at the library or the Friends, the Common have space for anybody to write a memory of the library or find a picture of an event or find a picture of the whatever they have.
I could probably talk to the friends and see like what they could do, or, they could probably afford space somewhere to buy. I don't know enough about the online platforms for memories, but I've just seen them, in weddings and, the big life
Is there
marks.
any way to link it with the library website now?
No,
No.
we have a very it's Civic Plus, it's very
Spartan.
smart, yeah.
But
Yeah.
the link could be on.
The link could be on there, and we
Yeah.
could promote it easily through,
This might be something that we could ask the Library Foundation to fund. They may not have the manpower to set it up and to manage it, but
When you say fund, are you talking about physical or digital?
digital.
Okay, it was not gonna be expensive.
We'll ask them whatever it costs to just so that everybody is involved, even if it is, whatever $100, it is good to just make sure that we ask everyone to be part of it.
It did
It's
come
like
up, at-
asking someone to bring the rolls at dinner, it's not much, but everybody has contributed something.
it did come up at the last meeting. And we talked about the idea of some kind of memory book and involving the historical group.
Mhm.
But there was some reservation about how digitally savvy they might be, I think. So I don't know.
But there might be some
I don't know the
websites
players.
where you just have to access and write and upload a picture, where there's no, I don't know.
or yeah, and then maybe if it caught, that might be a good volunteer, someone could help. Or we could have a day down there where maybe a volunteer could help upload or
Yeah.
type a memory or something,
Yeah.
or transcribe it or something.
Okay.
But I'll check kind of,
I'm trying to
The-
remember everything that was said at the last
David.
minute in terms of closing.
You offered to send around the minutes from the book brigade meeting, that, I would
Yeah.
appreciate that. So
okay.
thank
Yeah, they're
you.
very good.
Thank you, yeah.
And if anyone knew of a like memory site, like we were kind of talking, feel free to send it. Like, when we were at the book brigade, Sean figured out this sign up genius. If we wanted to volunteer for the book brigade, it was free, it was perfect.
Should ask him.
And he knew, yeah, I should probably ask him, and it would just like, hey, this is a great way to organize it, because he had done it with Cub Scouts and other people, so who's bringing what. So there might be, if you knew of one, just
Well,
for
see,
memory.
all I know about those things, it sounds very macabre, but that's the one that you go,
Oh.
when you go to a memorial service.
Legacy.
The
Legacy of that.
And
We don't
then,
want that.
and I get it, but this is what, you go to the memorial, everybody talks, and then you go home, and then you
Yes.
remember something. And it's not too late, but you want to share it, and then you go onto the legacy site. And then you put it in there, and then you get a phone call from the daughter, the widow, who says, you know, I was glad I, so.
It would be
this
really
is-
sweet even to involve the preschools, you know, the kids.
And we could
Somehow.
leave it up, months and people as that, they see the new library and they remember this one
Yeah.
more, it doesn't have to be one day.
Correct.
kind
That's
of thing.
exactly the thing. It's just, it's collecting the memories and testimonials of people who have used the library over the years.
You know, Scott was here from the city council last time, and he was gonna look into how our groups all fit together. So do you
He's-
know, have you gotten any feedback on that?
I know it's still in process and he's done like interviews with some members and I think he's still in
Because I don't know,
fact finding.
yeah,
like
I
he
mean, if he
talked
has any
to Diane.
thoughts on making a calendar or anything like that.
No, I don't think it's.
No.
really- Okay,
Yeah,
is
I
that
just did
it?
a quick
Go-
search.
go ahead.
There's many, many sites that are free that you can upload memories as pictures and or text easily found, so. there's
You just
question.
found some now.
I mean, yeah, I know many myself, but
They exist.
they abound
Okay.
out there on the web,
So it's a matter of just checking them out, and
Yeah.
finding one that suits the purpose.
correct.
Easy to
Do
use.
we- Okay, anything else on the update from library support group? Closing and opening?
Oh, before we leave the transition ceremonies, is there a next book brigade meeting? And date set for it, is that in the minutes? that
It's
you
in the
sent?
minutes and I think it's the December 2nd, the
Yes.
first Tuesday.
And these
at
are all
4 p.m.
open meetings, right? Anybody can attend.
And
Yeah.
free.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're over in
Just
the
make a
Rose
proposal.
Lane
Books optional, right?
meeting room. I'm not sure what they call it, the Rose Lane Community
I'm not
Center.
recommending, but
Yeah,
I've been
okay, great.
going.
December
Okay.
2nd.
But I'll send the minutes
Just
tomorrow.
wanted to
Thank you,
know
David.
if I was interested.
All right, let's move on, if we can, to item 7, future agenda items. We identified a couple conversations about the ebooks.
Books and
We're going to keep as a recurring item, the update on transition ceremony. And then we are going to have discussion of programming policy and no longer preliminary.
and I'll bring a draft, right?
Perfect.
Maybe, do we want to talk about the memory site? Do you think that is a small enough task that the board can do it for the closing ceremony?
I think, would it be for us or would it even be the book brigade? Seems tied to the,
It's
Uh,
a-
I
Well,
could, let me check with Diana,
yeah,
maybe
if
as
it
a
came up in
first,
that context multiple times.
and just see, I'll see her. I could ask her just informally pretty easily.
And see what she thinks, and see they have enough volunteer, because it seems that they do so much. So
What
that's
about
what-
ebooks?
ebooks.
Ebooks,
yes,
yeah.
it's on the.
And I'll bring a little data.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And also just a reminder for revisiting the program policy to bring the
Liz.
list of the programs that have happened to date
yes.
and the ones that didn't make it for one reason or another. That's great insight. That was a good suggestion.
Right, well, I was thinking of them for the facility policy, for the room policy.
It's useful for everything.
Yeah, then it's good, I think, just to see the different ages and the different things we do too.
So next month, we will be working on the programming policy and finalizing it, we hope, and not tackle another one. Is there any other?
I
policy?
I
think
think
if we,
that's reasonable.
yeah, I think this will be a good one to get, because this was a good process to learn,
Yeah.
working together, and then we'll go to the next one.
Next date, December,
Oops. I should have put December 8th. That's December 8th, a Monday.
doesn't matter. December
We have been doing the first, we're normally scheduled the second week, in October and November, we switched to the
Yeah.
first, but
eighth.
December 8th would be the normal second
Yes, we
Monday.
need to go back to that. Everybody is good with that date?
Checking.
Yeah, because December 1's after Thanksgiving too, so I'm not sure. So we'll do December 8th.
Jonathan?
Looks clear.
Okay,
December
December 8th. Do we have any other comment on the date? No?
Well, I was just looking ahead to January, and I'm not sure, oh no, it's fine, the 12th, the second Monday's
Do
fine.
we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Meeting adjourn at 7:31.
Okay, here we
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.